Welcome to another episode of
Uh,
the Mind. I'm Drew,
Danny?
and today we're hosting a really good friend of mine, Matt. He's someone I used to work with in my past place of employment. Um, and yeah, we're hosting him because he's a really fun guy. Matt is Matt's one of those guys I don't think many people don't like. He knows how to have fun. He knows how to have a positive attitude, and he knows how to make things super funny. So with that, welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks, brother. Nice to be here.
So I wanted to host you on here today because you are an interesting guy. You're a super conservative guy, which a lot of people can relate to. A lot of people don't relate to at all. You have a super positive attitude, and then on top of that, you're also openly gay, which is very controversial. Like the two don't usually go together. They're kind of um, what's the word? Yeah, they just don't go together. They're usually opposing. So why don't
It
you
can
tell us?
be.
What do people think? Yeah.
Um, I guess in that it all kind of, how do I word this without sounding like a douche? Um,
Sometimes the
I
truth
guess,
sounds fishy.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess the best way to say all of that is, I like to keep, as much as I can, keep trying to remember this is a free country where you can be gay and conservative. It's
Uh-huh.
uh, it's sometimes, I don't know. It's the best way I can put it is even I guess this is better if I kind of start with my background.
Yeah.
Please.
So,
Oh,
uh, so I grew up in Key West, Florida, and I don't know if how familiar you guys are with the area, but it's supposed to be one of the gay capitals of the country. Um, every year for New Year's, which is coming up soon, they put this Japanese drag queen named Sushi in a glass slipper and drop her instead of a ball, like that type of shit. They've got, rainbows painted on the crosswalks downtown, the works. And I didn't come out of the closet until I left that town. I didn't come out until I was probably about 21. I was already in the Coast Guard
Hmm.
simply because,
and you're 26 now, right?
yep, I turned 26 in October.
Very
And
Did you
thanks.
live there your whole life?
Say again?
Did you live there your whole life?
Well, yeah, I joined the Coast Guard. I went to boot camp when I was 19. Uh, a few months after I graduated high school down there. I mean, there were a couple of reasons I didn't come out down there because by the time I hit her early high school, I kind of basically knew. But the way that town works is, oh, my dog's wondering why the hell I'm talking to myself over here. Um,
We can have him on the show too.
Yep.
oh, you'd love
Welcome,
it.
Garrett.
Yeah, Andrew knows him. He's still a giant baby. But anyway, um,
A lot of those out there.
yeah. So in that, I'm not going to name any names because I'm on a podcast and don't want to oust anybody. But I had a buddy because small town. You go to the same elementary, middle, and high school with a lot of people. Whether you hang out with them outside of school or not is whatever. I'd say he was more of a school friend than an outside of school friend, but we got along for our entire school career, I guess if you can call it that way. And one day, he comes to school and he's got he dyed his hair. He's wearing like full rainbow gear. He's got a dick shaped lollipop in his mouth. The works. Like changed his voice overnight. Everything you could think of. And I go, "Hey man, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, I'm gay now." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cool. But what happened? What is this? Is this what you wanted to be the whole time, or is this?" And sure enough, a few months later, I guess last time I checked, he's still bi, but he snapped out of the whole flamboyant thing.
It was like a phase.
It's more than a phase down there. It's what you're expected to do. Like it's
And
one of those places where non-conformance becomes conformance. And if you come out in Key West, you were expected to put on that act. And that's one reason why I didn't want to come out down there, because I've been openly gay for 5 years. I get all the time people, and my husband's the same way. He's been openly gay a lot longer, but I know James, and I know Danny doesn't. But
no, I'm just messing.
um, you know, neither of us, I guess, put up that front. That's why I didn't come out down there. I didn't want to have to do that. Or
Yeah.
I guess
Gotcha.
a better way to put that is if I came out down there and kept acting the way I do now, which is the way I did back then, obviously younger, but more or less. People would think I was fucking around.
Do you
And I
think
was,
Right.
do you think the way the culture is in that area of Florida provoked this, or do you think you knew it all along? You always were.
um, it's one of the revelations for me is um I don't know. I realized one day, I guess in early high school, that I hadn't really I didn't hate girls. I just didn't care to chase them around.
Mhm.
And the very few girls that I had liked in elementary and middle school, by the time we got to high school, were they had become full blown lesbians. Like the butchy type. I'm like, I wonder if there's something to that. And then eventually, I kind of figured it out. So no, I don't. I don't think it was the town.
Yeah. No, it doesn't seem like it.
Was that, yeah, was that normal? Was that common? If someone was to come out, it was more of a drastic change.
Yeah, very much so. And it was pretty gate kept if you didn't do that drastic change. The community anyway, and I'm sure we'll talk about the community at some point in this because that's always an interesting subject too.
So where does your with your upbringing, where does all your conservative hobbies come from? Because I know you do a lot of shooting and
Oh yeah.
off-roading, fishing and hunting. You're very outdoorsy. You're very, yeah, you're not afraid to get dirty. Where do you think that comes from?
Um,
Your
that
community doesn't strike me as that.
I think that was partially my parents and partially the friends group I ended up hanging out with
Yeah.
because a lot of my friends lived further up the Keys away from Key West. So I guess to try to put that into perspective, the island of Key West is mile marker 0. That's one of its like tourist trap selling points. I grew up on mile marker 17. My buddy Chris grew up on mile marker 21, I believe. And then my buddy Josh grew up on like mile marker 30. So up the Keys more, once you get away from town, there's just a lot more of that type of shit to do. Like
You're
it
more in
was
the state.
one of the few places where it's worth it to have a four-wheeler in the Keys was where my buddy Chris grew up, that type of shit.
Yeah. Dope. What about the fact that,
Guns when it
Parents, yeah.
huh?
What about your
um
parents growing up?
my parents are both pretty conservative, my dad especially. I would say though the interest in firearms didn't come from them because they didn't get their first guns until I talked them into it a few years ago. I talked them into getting their concealed carry licenses because we need them in Florida. My my mom's a massage therapist, and she's a small Asian lady, and I don't want anybody getting the wrong ideas. So now she keeps guns in her massage bag and one on her ankle. So there's that. But and my dad got one too, just because he probably should. But no, the interest in guns came from me a little bit. Came a lot from James, and I guess to keep that funny story short too, came from my older sister, which is the exact opposite of what she wanted. My older sister is very liberal, and remember one day, I think I was like 10, my dad bought me a slingshot, And my older sister goes, you shouldn't be shooting rocks out of that thing. It's dangerous. You should be shooting like balled up pieces of paper or something. And I'm like, Aaron, it's a slingshot. That's not how these work. And she caught me shooting rocks with it and she took it away. And I was like, what's, and I don't know, every time I was trying to play like sword fight with sticks or airsoft or anything with my friends, she'd get all pissed off. So I think my interest in firearms and other weapons came from somebody not wanting me to have it my whole childhood. So there's that.
So
But
when did you meet James? That's your husband.
yeah, I met him. When was that? Got married in 2020. Maybe did we meet in like 2017?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, like 2017. He's over there. He's hanging out with the dog.
That was about 5 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
What about your parents? How did they respond to you coming out? Or did they know already?
My dad claimed that he knew, but
Fathers.
I think dads do that. I'm actually not entirely sure. They're I mean they're just fine with it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Not yeah. They're they were concerned at first, I think, but it got to a point pretty quickly where they realized I wasn't going to do the Key West thing and completely change myself. And at that point, you know, I wasn't living under their roof. I was in the Coast Guard. I had a cool job supporting myself, and they also kind of realized that even if they wanted to, be not cool with it, they didn't really have a whole lot of leg to stand on.
So
I don't think that was a super issue, but
it sounds like you're kind of saying they saw you were like being genuine and they were
yeah,
okay with it. Yeah.
yeah.
So Matt, we talked about with your parents, how they kind of handle it. What about any of your other relationships with your friends, and especially being conservative too? Did any of them react to it, in a different way?
Let's
They very
um
accepting of it.
my buddies Chris and Joshua I was talking about a little bit ago, they're still to this day pretty conservative as well, so that didn't hurt them all that much. Um, I don't talk to many people I grew up with besides those two, and I don't talk to them enough as it is. Different time zones, they've all got lives, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So most of the friends I end up with now are every once in a while somebody that I'll meet in town, but mostly the people I work with. And
No, it is. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, do you get any kickback anywhere?
um, I feel like I would. My I'm kind of to a point with a lot of the people that I work with here in Kodiak. And actually, no, I take that back. Not even just Kodiak, just kind of anywhere. Like, I love my older sister, but she's the same way. A lot of the guys I work with, it's political debate is cool if you can keep it civil, but it gets very abundant very quickly that when you talk about that type of shit,
Yeah, that's true.
they're not going to change my mind and I'm not going to change theirs. And I find myself only being able to take it so far before I just kind of throw my hands up and go, all right, just think that way, I guess. So
Right.
I've gotten pretty good at agreeing to disagree with a lot of these people, which is fine, still be friends, but just not talk about it, I guess.
I think it's great. I mean,
Avoid the discussion.
Yeah.
find something else in common.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, I just made a comment. Find something else in common,
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't always have to go that route.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be political. It does better to leave it out of most discussions. I think one of the things that stands out about you is you always have a super positive attitude. You're always funny. You're always willing to. I've seen you do more self-sacrifice and like be willing to stay late and like help other people out. Like where does that come from? How do you maintain that? Is it easy for you, or is it just come naturally, or
um, you know, I used to get that same question quite a bit. I guess more back on my old boat, even more so than the hangar.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. Try to believe in karma, I guess. It's the
Yeah.
simplest way I can put it.
So
But you know,
you deliberately use that to motivate.
I mean, I guess karma's not even the right word. It's just why hey buddy, hey buddy, what's up? Here he is.
What's his name?
His name's Garen.
Garen.
We named him after the well, around non-gun people, we say we named him after John Garen, the guy, Canadian American engineer who built a lot of stuff during World War II, namely the M1 Garand or Garand, if you will, either one. The semi-auto 30-06 World War II rifle that does the ping when it runs out of ammo. You know, that one. I still need to get an actual Garand. All I have is the dog. But
So what?
Yeah,
if we get
quick question actually. I mean, we do have a little time limit here, but so so there's a lot of controversy, and especially I bet you've seen that from being gay and conservative at the same time. What what do you think is either the confusion here, or what would you tell someone else who would confront you, from an educated standpoint of being, like if someone asks you, how are you conservative? Like you're gay, and then how are you conservative at the same time? Like, if they ask you, they don't, what if they try to claim that they don't support you, conservatives don't support you? What would you say to that?
um I'd say that's definitely an outdated stance. I'll give a little credence to people saying that, thinking of older times way back when people were really stupid compared to now. I it's 2022. I do think people are a lot smarter than they used to be. Um, I I guess the main thing I can say to that is that's part of the reason why I'm not. I was going to say not very, but not really active at all in what people call, the LGBT community, whatever it is. Nope. I don't give a lot of crap to people that are. If you feel like you need such a thing, then go for it. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've got a loving husband. I've got friends. I've got a cool job. I'm in the Coast Guard. I'm rescuing people. People seem to like me. I like to think, like I said, one, there's way less quote unquote oppression than there used to be. So I don't know why people keep talking about it. I'm sure it exists somewhere still, but not nearly in as much capacity. And you can make your own non-oppression. Like
Yeah.
the
Well,
reason why I don't really buy into that is like I was just saying, I kind of, I made the life I wanted. And and like I said, I'll give a little bit of credence to people that say that type of thing because there are plenty of things that, you know, plenty of things in liberalism that I benefit from. I'm married to a dude. That's a very liberal concept. Um, I'm allowed to be in the military. Don't ask, don't tell was a thing. So, like I said, there's a little bit of credence to somebody's argument if they were going to say that, but I also think in this day and age it's outdated. You can just kind of do your own thing.
well, you're acknowledging something very important, and that's that there are pros to both sides. Like both sides, well, that's why there are both sides, because both sides
Right.
are necessary. Um, and then I also like what you said. You created what you wanted. Which just goes to show the possibility that it is possible to manifest what you want if you put the effort in,
Right.
which is
Yeah,
just a great point to put out there.
it's a few days before 2023. The the world has changed so much in just a decade or two.
Yeah,
And what a lot of people, especially people that could potentially be in my position don't realize is it's a pretty new age. It's not your sexuality holding you back, it's your mindset.
yes, that's great.
And I and like I said, if somebody was to ask me that, or if I was going to talk to somebody who had to deal with it 20, 30 years ago, maybe I would be more into the LGBT thing, because the issues that they stood for back then were a lot nastier. It made a lot more sense. But I just
Mhm.
think nowadays you can kind of drop it. There's
Yeah.
not a whole lot to worry about anymore.
I wanted to jump back to the other subject real quick. I wasn't sure if this was what you were trying to say, and maybe it wasn't, but it sounded like what you were saying was with your beliefs, with your own attitude. It kind of sounds like you're saying you believe what you put in, you get out. I don't know if that was what you were saying or not.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I wasn't finding those words. I like it.
Okay. With where the
Um,
discussion is going, did you have any thoughts?
I guess I guess continue talking about the community, quote unquote.
The
Um,
Yeah.
gay community.
because that, yeah,
Yeah.
because that's one thing that is one thing that's getting very dangerous in this day and age, as opposed to like natural oppression that happens. It's stuff that's being created. Um, and you can say this about any big, big organization, because
Oh yeah.
once an organization gets that many people in it, there will be extremists.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about LGBT, it's so big, there's a certain sect of it that wants to bring children into drag shows. And
Right.
that's a minute percentage of that community, but it exists, and of course it's getting all the media attention because it's the scariest one.
Right.
Right.
There's,
But then you hear it said there's power in numbers. So
right,
like you said,
and
community, right? Bigger the
right,
community.
Well, one of the things I've seen a lot of is this this movement, definitely within that community and maybe even beyond it, where it's this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is right. You have to accept me. I don't have to accept you. This is how I want you to be. You can't tell me how to be. And that that's
right.
not
But
that's not
that's,
freedom. That's hypocrisy. That's very
yeah,
counterintuitive if you logically think
right.
through.
But you can apply that cycle to LGBT, Boogaloo Boys, organized religion, Black Lives Matter, whatever
Yeah.
community that's. Oh, actually, I'll take Boogaloo Boys out of that, because my next sentence will kind of fuck all that up. But um, take take any take any group that has good intentions and swell them up that big, people and attention wise, and then, the media 1 2 3 punch, pick the minute portion of the crazy ones out of each group and make those the front and center,
Yeah.
and then it makes everybody look bad. That's, as much as I don't like to admit it, it you know that's why I don't follow LGBT as much as I should, because of all the, because like I said earlier, there are tons of things from it that I benefit from, and it would probably be cooler of me to support it.
Yeah.
It's just way too big. you know every group that gets that many people gets ruined, and just, keep that in mind as you go through. And then of course you bust into, they only show you that because they're distracting you from all the other horrible stuff they're doing, but you already knew that.
Yeah.
Look at every single thing you see on any news source, and the first thought in your head should be, what are they trying to distract me from by showing me this? And then the world looks different. But that's just another thing I live by.
I'm curious with, what you've been talking about with the downsides of that community. Do you have any, like, if you were in charge of a solution, or if you had any recommendations on how to maybe turn those not so good sides around, what would you recommend?
I'm really not sure. And then the main reason I keep bringing LGBT up is it's, I guess, the one that my life would be affected by the most had I choose to. But I guess I was more talking about all all organizations of that, or I guess groups of that nature. I'm just kind of a firm believer that I don't know, they all kind of seem the same to me. I mean, obviously I'm not, well, how do I word this? You know, they start with good intentions. Good does come of them, but the times move on, they become outdated, and then parts of them get extreme. The extreme parts get the spotlight, and then they all kind of go to hell.
Yeah.
That's and I you can apply that to a ton of different, things like that you can think of. The same formula kind of keeps rearing its ugly head. So
Well,
I
I think,
guess
Right.
go
I
ahead.
guess part of and I'm half Asian. I could be around spouting stop Asian hate too if I wanted, but I don't do that either because I feel like that's going to end up being the same thing.
Mhm.
Eventually, that's a fairly new one, but
Well, I think
they
a lot of the stuff,
everything like that runs its course,
go
I
ahead.
guess.
That's true. And I
Yeah,
think the beginning of that course is, here's a reality, like the
right.
reality is there's gay people. And
Yeah,
then it becomes, or like Black Lives Matter started as there's black people who aren't being respected.
right.
Or the same goes for like the Asian Stop Asian Hate thing. There's Asians
Yeah,
who aren't respected. But then it becomes more than just a become conscious of this problem, it becomes an organization.
yeah,
And that's where I think maybe things go too far, is possibly stop making things an organization and just become aware of them. There's gay people, there's black people, and they deserve respect. There's Asian people, and they don't deserve to be hated. It doesn't need to be an organization. And I think
right.
when it becomes an organization, it actually starts to take on a, a power in a different way than if you just became conscious of what was happening with that reality.
There's actually give me 1 second. Hey James, who's that what's the first name of that comedian you and I like? Super libertarian guy, last name Smith. Is it Dan Smith? Dave Smith. Dave Smith, thanks. Um that I was kind of get reminded of, I mean, it was something he said on the Joe Rogan show, which was he, like extremely openly libertarian comedian. And I like libertarianism quite a bit as well. There's a lot of good to that. But one thing that he said that I actually think about quite a bit that you can tie into all of that as well is he he said, I don't know why people keep pushing that we need to close this divide. He was talking about the divide between liberalism and
Mhm.
conservatism, sorry. But it can be applied to all the stuff we've been talking about the last few minutes, which is, I don't know, man. Every time we get unified, somebody finds a way to exploit it and screw us over.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
But yeah, I mean,
9/11, like 9/11 happened. Let's unify everybody. Bam, here's the war in Iraq. Uh, you know, I'm not going
right.
to bust into all the bad that came out of that, but you guys are already pretty aware of it.
Right.
And a bunch of other stuff like that. You can apply it, I guess, technically smaller scale to these community type of things that we've been thinking about, where it's it always turns into a really good way to exploit a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you know,
So it can be very necessary.
yeah. Oh, and that's, I guess that's the funny thing, is that's a good point. Because in the beginning, all of these groups are necessary. Like I said a few minutes ago, I benefit greatly from a lot of the stuff that LGBT is put out and done for this country. And then, you know, like clockwork, it changes.
Hmm.
So I
Well, one
can't
of the
rag on it
things
too hard, but
you've mentioned, you've shared how you benefit greatly from both sides. And I would go even further than that and say that you you haven't just benefited greatly from both sides, but you've basically been open to the beauty of both sides, or to the good of both sides.
right.
Whether it's politically or not politically, you have acknowledged that there's benefits to both sides.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think that's one of the biggest things people have to overcome, is like, there are significant and important aspects to each side. And You
Right.
can definitely benefit from them, or you don't even have to benefit from them. You can just acknowledge that they have good. There is good in both sides. And
Right.
so being able to see that is like a huge step. It's not all one-sided. One side isn't always right. It's not about always being right. It's about recognizing that there's good parts that each play. And then if you benefit from them and find a happiness or a success out of, different areas of them, more to you for that too.
I guess that kind of brings me to an answer from a question you asked earlier, which was if I was in charge of a big group like that, what would my advice be or my game plan? Um, you know, I guess once you've accomplished the good that you want to accomplish, try to just hold on to that as long as you can and shove off down the road, the group changing into something not good anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I guess with LGBT, I would have stopped before the whole child drag thing. That's the main bugaboo of that
Yeah, I agree with
group
that.
at the moment. But
Right. I think it's also being probably aware of this cycle, aware that these things do happen. I mean, you look at history,
right.
like you said, it's happened so many times
Yeah.
where these things
Like
people come together for a good cause and then it turns into something that does damage. So it's like,
dude, you can trace it back to the Catholics and the Crusades. It's been happening for
right.
centuries now at this point. It's just how all of that's going to go. Hell, I don't want to be around for it, but I feel like America is going to be the same way if we don't do something different. But
Right.
so, I mean, what is America if not a giant group of people that all try to believe similar stuff?
That's what a tribe is.
Yep.
With that, let's wrap up. Did you have any last questions, Dan?
No, but one thing I want to mention that actually stood up out to me just about you is you seem so relaxed with yourself. And I think that's one reason why Andrew wanted you on the show. Just your personality, but also it's just cool because you're like living, you have all these outside, communities, organizations that could affect you, and it seems like you don't let it. And so you
I
just
mean,
yeah, and you basically just mind your business and enjoy your own life.
yeah.
No.
I mean, don't give me too much credit. The only reason I seem so relaxed is I'm drinking coffee with Irish cream in it and I'm ripping cigs before each recording. So there's that.
Yeah.
But
So
no, I appreciate that.
Great.
as a conclusion question, what advice would you offer to people in general? If you could offer some general advice about anything you want or everything, what would it
Just
be?
kind of to the world.
Yeah, sure. It can be specific or it can be general.
It's a good one because that's going to be multi-staged. I'm trying to think of questions. No, I mean a little bit, but I'm also watching James and Garen dance in the living room. I have to giggle a little bit. God, I was about to say something grim, but I mean I was about to say be weary, but that's definitely not how I want to end this. Just I guess be conscious. Be conscious is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you see something you don't agree with, especially, online or in media, whatever, try to, instead of sitting there and getting pissed off, uh, think about it. Think about how it got to that point. Think about your stance on the matter. Be well educated. Um, keep in mind that what you're looking at is meant to piss you off in some way and distract you from something worse that's going on is the main thing I guess I could say is because that's helped me quite a bit. Hell, I guess super quick story. When I was in A school, my roommate one time was looking at his phone and he goes, "Man, I can't believe they're canceling Dr. Seuss." And I was like, "Dude, when's the last time you read a Dr. Seuss book? You're 26. What do you? Why do you think they're showing you this?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know, because the liberals are crazy." I'm like, no, there's way worse shit going on than them not wanting Dr. Seuss in school libraries. They're trying to keep you from something worse. You should figure out what that is and be pissed off about that instead of what you're pissed off. Instead of being pissed off at what they want you to be at. Just
Be aware of where you're putting your energy.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And
Because the and like I've talked a lot of good about 2022, almost 23, but one of the in my mind, one of the main things that holds us back is the people that show us this news have become masters at getting us pissed off at what they want us to get pissed off about instead of what they're hiding from us. That can be tied into anything. Anything you see that you're upset about.
There's like a quote or something that's like, a man who controls his mind controls the world or something, or if they control your mind, they something like that.
That's,
But yeah, I love what you're
I know
saying.
something similar, yeah.
Be conscious, be weary, be aware of what you're
Anchors you, controls
letting
you.
yourself respond
Right.
to.
Because I mean that ties into me. If more people are of that mindset and aware and practice that train of thought, me being a gay conservative wouldn't even be a controversial thing. It's got to be how it is.
Yeah. Dude, terrific. That, I mean, anybody who emphasizes the importance of just self-consciousness, especially mentally, is on the right track. Dude, thanks for hopping on. We appreciate having you.
Man.
Great advice. Yeah, guys, if you don't know this guy, you gotta get to know him as a friend,
Hey, thanks, Matt.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Great meeting you, man.
Yeah, man. It was nice to meet you too.
All of us here, thanks for joining, and we'll see y'all next time.
Oh, yep. I'm gonna show you the dog one more time before I log off. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, buddy.
Bye, buddy.
He's going crazy.
Give us a
All right.
howl for goodbye.
Hell yeah, man.
Awesome.
I'll talk to you later.